Cross-examination. The accusation. Naturally, I have occasion to make use of pawnbroking services from time to time. Completely reasonable. But are you seriously suggesting I colluded with these thugs to break into the place on the night of the murder? I have no intention of admitting to such an outrageous accusation. See, that's all understandable. Even if certain parties here present claim that my blood was found at the scene. How do you know that? That's what I want to know. How do you know? Blood was found at the scene of the crime. There's no question of that. Mr. Sholmes' chemical analysis has positively identified the substance as such. But I am not the only human to have blood running through my veins, am I? I can be sure that the blood is mine. It could equally be the blood of one of these two miscreants. Every individual's blood has a slightly different composition, it seems. Mr. Sholmes' chemical is able to differentiate Spare me the science lesson. Who is this Sholmes character anyway? You met him. Oh, I assumed all Londoners would know the name. He's a great, well, a renowned detective. So even you are unable to bring yourself to say, great detective. A great detective, you say? No, in the realm of fairy tales. Are we? Okay. Like, this is not where I wanted to pursue the idea, like, maybe, like, he could explain, like, how he knew this stuff, but... Alright.
Excuse me!
Do you have something to say about that, Mr. Skulkin? No, what? Me? No, the Mr. Skulkin next to you. Right, I've had it up to here with this. How many times have I got to tell you? Yes, I know, you're not Big Bruv Sulking. Mr. Nash Skulkin. Eh? God blimey, Governor. You what? Is it not the case that when Mr. Graydon just spoke, a thought went through your mind? Would you care to share that thought with the court? Eh? Your thoughts? I don't have none of them. It must have been him. You what? Mr. Nash Skulkin, answer the question, please. What went through your mind when Mr. Graydon just spoke? Nothing, honest God, nothing! I was just thinking, if he waves his arms around like that much more, he'll open up the wound again, that's all. What wound? He took the bullet, of course. It's only 2 days ago, it ain't gonna be healed up yet. Oh, hello. So I was, well, you know, I was worried for him, and oh, hell's bells. Mr. Graydon, did you hear that? What? Your comrade is worried about you, it seems. On account of your injured arm. My lord? Yes, Mr. Graydon? I have no idea what these two wretches are talking about. Certainly, I shouldn't be expected to answer anything in relation to their mindless insinuations. You know that someone other than the victim was hit by a bullet at the scene of the crime 2 nights ago. And from the height of the bullet hole in the wall, a person was likely hit in the upper arm, or thereabouts. Perhaps you'd allow the court official to examine your arm, sir? The left arm that you're currently clasping with your right hand, as if in pain? No, I refuse. You have shown no evidence whatsoever that links me to these common thieves. Accordingly, I'm not obliged to permit any such invasion of my privacy. Oh yes, quite right, yes. As I've already said, I'm completely uninvolved in all of this. Never had anything to do with the pawnbroking, where this fellow was killed whatsoever. Wait a minute, that goes back to the first statement, doesn't it? I take offense at this insinuation that I was in any way involved. Claim to have nothing whatsoever to do with Mr. Winterbound's pawnbrokery. My lord, the defense would like that last statement to be added to Mr. Graydon's formal testimony. Ooh. Very well, counsel. I was thinking I was going to have to pursue the first one. Continue with your testimony, Mr. Graydon. The bottom line is I've never had anything to do with the pawnbroking establishment where the man was killed. I mean... I don't have the picture. I've had the picture, be like, no, we got the picture of you there, mate. Damn it. But alright, we'll go with press then.
Hold it!
Never had anything to do with it. You forget that I was there, Mr. Graydon, and there's a picture. On the very afternoon of the incident. Obviously, I'm not a complete stranger to the pawnbrokers. I'm currently on the lookout for an armchair to furnish my study.
Objection!
No, you were there to redeem an article. I have no idea what you're
Is
talking
that right?
about. Okay.
Excuse me!
Do you have something to add, Inspector? Eh? Come again, Sunshine? You were there too, in fact, weren't you, Inspector? That afternoon. Well, yes, I do remember meeting yourself in there at pawnbrokers that afternoon. You, your young Japanese assistant, and the accused were all present, as I recall. And at that time, the witness, Mr. Graydon, was trying to acquire a particular article. Oh, well, now, I'm afraid I don't remember too clearly. What? But you must get Iris on him. I'm not going to lie and pretend I remember something that I don't. What's going on here? He showed us a picture before, didn't he? Yeah. You know, from the cameras that Hurley installed in Windybanks. Yes, of course. Indeed, and the gentleman pictured bears a striking resemblance to the witness, I must say. That's the one I was after. Yes, there we go. Exactly, which proves that Mr. Graydon was in the shop on the afternoon in question. No point have I denied that fact. I merely entered the shop to peruse the articles on sale and have a word with the broker. Nothing more. This makes no sense. I understand why Mr. Graydon might be trying to cover his tracks. But why would Gregson be trying to avoid giving testimony about what happened? What he's going to say on the matter, is it? What do you think, Runo? I think he has no intention of telling us anything. He's well aware that the less he says, the less chance he has of giving himself away. The opposite of Hurley, then. Seems to think that the more he says, the better. Well, at least I managed to prise a little more information from the witness's lips. All thanks to the Skulking Brothers. Yes, they were the key to it after all. He says he had nothing to do with Windybanks. I know that's not true. Perhaps now would be a good time to have a proper look through the court record. Okay, there's something we got there. But a day, you never know what tiny scrap of information could become a valuable weapon. Naturally, I have occasion to make use of the pawnbrokers. Okay, so it's clearly going to be on... Where is it? No intention of admitting such outrageous accusation. It's... Which one are we on? Bottom line is I never... There they are. I never had anything to do with the pawnbroking establishment where the man was killed. So I'm assuming it's on that one. I mean... That one's directly linked to him, so maybe that. Because that's clearly what he was after, but why? Today's paper? We got here. There's a sensational story lower down on the front page as well, look. Ministry mole, classified secrets may have been leaked overseas from Ministry of Justice. For a 10-year-old, Art certainly has her finger on the pulse of world news. It's about secret communications between Great Britain and its allies. Aha, he's a communications guy, isn't he? Apparently they're being intercepted by hostile nations. Communications are being intercepted. How would somebody be doing that? That's the question, isn't it? Come come up with 3 different possible methods so far. Looking for a new career, Bruno? No, of course not. I wonder. Perhaps this is what Lord Strongheart was talking about yesterday. Yes, it could be. And it could explain why he has Gregson running from pillar to post at the moment. The details of today's paper have been updated in the court record. That's significant. The morning paper, which contains an article about government secrets being leaked to foreign agencies. That's what's on the freaking disc. That's what's on the disc. It's not music. It's a disc, like in the same way we use them, like digital information. It's data. That's what it is. Like that's not. It's a code or something like that, or maybe it's this. That's why you're after it.
Objection!
Have you ever seen this disc before, Mr. Gregson? Why? Is it supposed to mean something? The disc was, until the day of his murder, in pawn in Mr. Windybank's shop. It was redeemed by the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade, that afternoon. However, somebody mysteriously appeared to try and take it from her. And that somebody was you, of course. Wasn't it, Mr. Gregson? As I have reiterated numerous times now, you are mistaken. That was not me. I've never seen that disc before in my life. It may have escaped your notice, but there is a small smear of blood on the disc. Yes, resulting from the abrasion of the thumb, perhaps. That's right. The surface of the disc is covered in hundreds of tiny metal bumps. In the skirmish to acquire the disc, the thumb of the person who tried to take it has suffered minor lacerations. So, while the disc bears the remnants of that skirmish in the form of this smear of blood, the thumb of the person in question must bear the remnants also in the form of a scratch. Good gracious, indeed it must! Mr. Gregson, you refused to allow a court officer to examine your arm before. Are you now going to refuse to examine your thumb? Because I have no doubt it bears a small scratch consistent with the smear of blood on this disc. Well. It would seem I underestimated you. What is the meaning of this? So you admit it now. You admit you have a scratch on your thumb from when you attempted to take the disc from the defendant. Oh my. Oh, well, Mr. Gregson. It would appear there has been something of a misunderstanding here. I did not attempt to take the disc as you put it. No, quite the reverse. What are you trying to say? Take it back. It's really quite simple, you see. The disc was mine from the outset. Is there some crime in taking an item that you own out of pawn? What? It would seem, Mr. Gregson, that in this piece of evidence, my learned friend has established a link between yourself and the incident. Accordingly, you will tell the court everything you know about this disc now. Like this all relates to the Crystal Tower, doesn't it? There's going to be like a communication about the Crystal Tower somehow. As you wish. Though I'm quite sure it has nothing whatsoever to do with the pawnbroker's murder. Witness testimony. The disc. There's a note on the disc saying for McGilded, but the item belongs to me. The redemption ticket was stolen from me by the accused, that filthy gutterling, on the day in question. I proceeded at once to the shop in order to explain my situation and redeem my article. In the end, of course, the disc was taken by the police. In other words, absolutely no reason to break into the shop later that same night. Did I hear you correctly, sir? McGilded, you say? The famous London philanthropist? burnt to death, who perished in this very courtroom 2 months ago after being acquitted of a distinctly messy murder. Yes, my lord. The one and the same. Good lord. Mr. Graydon, are you saying that Mr. McGillicuddy and yourself were acquainted? Yes, that's correct. Oh, right. I was there then. It never came up. Well, I certainly didn't expect to hear that name uttered here in my courtroom again. According to what Gina told us, the disc was placed in the pawn on that fateful night 2 months ago. McGillicuddy himself gave instructions to deposit it at Windybanks. It's funny that Mr. Graydon here is claiming the disc belongs to him then, isn't it? In all likelihood, he's lying. So he appeared that afternoon at Windybanks in order to get his hands on McGillicuddy's disc for some reason. Counsel, you will commence your cross-examination, please. Cross-examination, here we go. The disc. There's a note on the disc saying for McGillicuddy, but the item belongs to me. Right. The donation ticket was stolen from me by the accused, the filthy guttling, on the day in question. Proceeded at once to the shop in order to explain my situation and redeem my article. In the end, of course, the disc was taken by the police. In other words, I had absolutely no reason to break into the shop later that same night. It's like, yeah. I feel like we've got to pursue everything here, because I'm not... Although that's the one that really makes me sort of like, at this point. Proceeded at once to the shop in order to explain my situation and redeem my article. And of course the disc was taken by the police. In other words, I have no reason to break into the shop later that same night. Let's go pursue everything.
Hold it!
Do you care to explain how this belongs to you? As you will observe, a communications officer such as myself commands a fine salary. You are certainly exquisitely dressed, sir. So you see, I have little need to make use of the services provided by the pawnbrokery trade. However, I did once find myself in difficulties, having misplaced my purse whilst on an errand, which is why I pawned my fine black overcoat to the broker in question. I claimed that was your overcoat. Obviously, in my haste I clean forgot that the music box disc was in the pocket. And yet, there is a note on it that reads, for McGillicuddy. I am a collector of rare and unusual music box music. I first met Mr. McGillicuddy at a gentleman's club in the city, and was interested to discover that he shared my penchant in that area. So, disc in question, it's a pre-production sample. I promised to let Mr. McGillicuddy hear it. But then you forgot that it was in the pocket of the overcoat you were forced to pawn. Yes, exactly. Gina didn't mention any of that in her testimony 2 months ago, did she? No, because McGillicuddy had threatened her to keep her mouth shut. Which means that if we dig too deeply here, it's going to expose Gina's perjury. Oh dear, this is complicated, isn't it? Let's leave it alone for the time being. Okay, the redemption ticket was stolen from me by the accused, that filthy guttling, on the day in question.
Hold it!
So you're saying that Miss Lestrade lifted the ticket from your pocket or bag? That's right, despite being mindful of danger when walking in the insalubrious areas her kind frequent.
Objection!
Miss Lestrade did no such thing. Well, of course you would take that stance. But the girl is a regular offender. You came to the pawnbrokery that day prepared with all the information you needed to identify the defendant. You were looking for her. That's what brought you to Windybanks. To get your hands on Mr. McGillicuddy's disc.
Objection!
My learned friend is a veritable font of nonsense. Nonsense? I concur with the prosecution. Oh, thanks. Counsel, you will refrain from conjecturing in this way, is that clear? Yes, my lord. Now I continue with my testimony for what possible use it can be. I proceeded at once to the shop in order to explain my situation and redeem my article.
Hold it!
Would you have been to Windybanks before? Only once, for the purposes of pawning something. But like many, I enjoyed browsing in such establishments. So when you noticed that the pickpocket had taken your ticket, you chased after her. Is that correct? Yes, that's right. I didn't notice it first, of course. Such is the art of the pick-purse. But when I did, I headed to the pawnbroker at once, in order to reclaim my coat before the thief could. I was merely trying to recover what was rightfully mine in the first place. He can say what he likes because he knows we have no evidence to contradict him on this. Alright. In the end, of course, the disc was taken by the police. I'm pressing on everything.
Hold it!
Yes, it was taken by Inspector Gregson here, wasn't it? That's right. This was the very man. Apparently the police are collecting anything that has a connection to Mr. McGilded as evidence. What's going on here, Gregson?
Excuse me!
Is something wrong, Inspector? What do you mean? Last remark Mr. Graydon made in his testimony seemed to trouble you in some way. No, it didn't. It's nothing, leave it alone. Let me ask you this, Inspector. Why is Scotland Yard gathering Mr. McGildy's possessions? Can't tell you something like that, Sunshine. What is it, Inspector? Investigative secrets? Yes, exactly. You should know all about that. Magnus McGilded, who died so unexpectedly after his trial 2 months ago. A man renowned throughout the capital for his great contributions to public life. Yet he had a dark side too. Where are you going with this, Van Zykes? I suppose the police are dealing with the aftermath of his nefarious activities, are they? It's enough. Coppers like me have duties to carry out that we're not at liberty to talk about. That's all you need to know. Duties conferred by Lord Strongheart, I presume. The Lord Chief Justice appears to have great faith in you, Inspector. Bottom line is, if you want to get more out of me, you're going to need Lord Strongheart's paw print first. What's all this about? It's like there's something going on between Gregson and Lord Van Zykes here. Well, it would appear that the Inspector has revealed all he is at liberty to reveal. Mr. Graydon, let us return to your testimony. Gladly, my lord. Otherwise, absolutely no reason to break into the shop later that same night.
Hold it!
But perhaps you'd seen something of value among the forfeited items. No, not at all. Oh. A valuer was brought in by the police to assess everything in the shop. Without exception, every article on the shelves was common or garden bric-a-brac. In that case, it's clear that you broke into the shop later that day in order to recover Mr. McGilded's disc. Have you not been listening, man? Even if I had wanted to recover the disc, I may recall that it had been seized by the police that afternoon. There was no more in the shop that night than I. So I keep saying I simply had no reason to break in. What reason would he have to break in then? It's gotta be one of these. Oh, is it the box? It's whatever it was in the box, isn't it? Something in the box. Or is the box the player for the disc? Maybe that's what it is. Can't present that now, can I? It was no more in the shop that night than I. As I keep saying, I simply had no reason to break in. That's... Oh! This is where the... Oh! So it's to do with this. That article on the back there. So it's like the government secrets being leaked to foreign agencies. It's being leaked via a disc. And there's some confusion from him as to what is what. Because he's only seen the front, hasn't he? And thinks, therefore, that's the right one. It's gotta be something like that, isn't it? So he's got the wrong ticket in his mind and he wants the small box? Like, Maybe, there's something with that. It's gonna be that. It's the box. Something to do with the box. So there was nothing of McGilda's left in the shop that night. Nothing this man might have been after. I wonder if that's really true. Bruno, if you have some evidence, then let him have it. I'm dying to see that irritatingly assured expression of his crumble. McGill had slipped the disc into his coat pocket and had it deposited at Windybanks. Then when he realized he was going to be arrested on suspicion of the omnibus murder, threatened Gina and forced her to take the redemption ticket. There's no doubt about it. That witness is lying through his pearly white teeth. Police are obviously after anything left behind by McGilded as well. That's why Inspector Gregson ended up taking the disc into custody that day. Gregsy's been very strange about all this. There's been a reason for that, I'm sure. I just don't know what it is. It's communications. For now, I need to focus on exposing the fact that Mr. Graydon is lying in his testimony. Okay, let's go presenting the box on like... You know, in other words, I had absolutely no reason to break into the shop later that same night. You're after the box, mate.
Objection!
The disc was deposited at Windybanks on Magnus McGilda's instruction. You knew that, and you went there with the intention of obtaining it for yourself.
Objection!
Conjecture again, and in any case, the disc was taken into custody by the police that afternoon. The witness had no reason to visit the pawnbroker again that night. He did keep going on about how there was a second disc. So is the second disc in the box? This small box?
Objection!
Sorry, my learned friend, but that's not true. What? Mr. McGilded had another article in Pawn at Windybanks, as this second pawnbroker's ticket proves. We're on the right money then. There were 2 articles belonging to Mr. McGilded in Windybanks pawnbrokery, and the reason you broke into the shop that night was to recover the second one. Together with your 2 accomplices, the Skulkin brothers. This is the second ticket, is it? What had the man deposited? The article description reads, 1 small box. Rather vague description, it seems to me. Are you suggesting that I broke into the pawnbroker with these clowns in order to steal some trinket box? Is it a music box? I believe there are adequate grounds to suspect that you did. This is absurd. Why on earth would I do such a thing? Once the article had been forfeited, I could simply walk into the shop and purchase it. There'd be absolutely no need for me to resort to theft. That's a good point. Here's a good point. Indeed. The witness makes a solid argument. That means that for some reason, this Graydon fellow needed the small box that very night, doesn't it?
Objection!
It's time to put an end to this nonsense, my lord. Could you be a little less cryptic, Lord Van Zyke? I do hate to ruin my learned friend's argument, but the truth is quite incontrovertible. On the night in question, no small box was taken from Windybank's pawnbroker. And rest assured, the prosecution can prove it. What? Good gracious. Doesn't mean it's not what he was after, though. Inspector, show the photographic prints to the court, if you please. Yes, sir. What prints? These prints were taken from one of the detective's security cameras. And his red-handed recorders again. As previously explained using this plan of the shop layout, the victim's establishment was furnished with automatic cameras in 2 locations. One was set to capture the counter where Mr. Windybank received his customers, and the other was set to capture the shelves on which articles were placed for for sale once forfeited. There are several boxes on there. According to the information on this ticket, the gilded small box had been forfeited already. 2 days before the incident, at 9 PM on 13th of April to be precise. Which means it would have been on the shelves of the forfeited items in the shop front. Now, what I have here is a print taken by one of the cameras about 2 hours before the incident. Do you have another one as well? That's 11 PM on the 15th of April. When I see, in my head, 2 potential ones that... well, maybe 3. 3 potential ones that strike out to me. The green one, the blue one, and the one sort of like bottom right, sort of brownish with a fancy detailing on it. The victim certainly had a very full shop, it would appear. And then here we have another print. Alright, so we're going to do the stereoscope thing again. This one was taken about 2 hours after the incident. I see, so we have 2 pictures to compare. Alright, what are we getting here? What are we getting here? Oh. Right, so if you cross your eyes, the bottom right brown box with the fancy stuff on it, that one jumps out, so it's been moved. It's been moved. Though I must say that placing them side by side leaves me cold. I mean, you can actually just see it, it's been moved. Dear me, that's starting to make my head ache. Obviously, at Scotland Yard we consider theft as one possible motive in this case. Explored the possibility that something had been taken in addition to the victim's life. So you men have already compared these 2 prints thoroughly, Inspector? Yes, sir. So you'd notice that the box has been moved from the left to the right of the picture frame? No? Okay. We counted every single item in each of these 2 photographic prints. This bit has been moved. But the Yard's conclusion is that exactly the same number are present in both. In other words, nothing was taken from the pawnbroker on the night in question. And my learned friend's assertion is nothing more than a hopeful fantasy. Good. I don't believe it. To Meldrum. If I could have just shown that he'd stolen McGilded's pawned box. What are you dancing for? I might have been able to break him down at least. You know what, Bruno? I've been thinking. I wonder if these 2 photographs really are exactly the same. They're not, we've already done this. What? So, counsel, in the light of the evidence put forward by the prosecution, what is your position? Seems that in fact, on the night in question, nothing was stolen from the victim's establishment. Do you accept the prosecution's assertion? I don't know. Could there be some hidden discrepancy in these 2 photographic prints? Somewhere there is a discrepancy. But I'm going to wait until the next part when we'll point out a discrepancy. So we'll see you then. Ta-ta for now.